staying behind for the moment. Oh, is he? Yes, he is, as he tries to follow the car in front, but straight away under pressure from behind as well, because Pablo and Casey Kirwan up at the P4 here are going for moves.
Yeah, that may be a little bit of hesitation from Samsoid to open up the inside for Pablo to get through. Casey Kirwan also next up in line. He will clear that spot, and Samsoid slipping down the leaderboard now to the number 4 position. Pablo GZ up to second, and up to the number 3 spot is Casey Kirwan on the charge from the invert. Can he get all the way up front now as this battle continues to rage on, as now they have set their sights on up front race leader Pupo Lopez, who has been enjoying that clean air up at the front of the field for quite a little while in this one. We'll see if he gets challenged.
And we're just about 9 minutes and 10 seconds to go. I would love to know from those of you who are watching in the chat, who are you representing in this race? Who do you want to see do well? And who do you think will win the race in both the GT3 class as well as the prototype class that we're watching right now at Pablo? Getting under pressure from behind, because it's actually Casey looking to see if he can track his nose in somewhere. He might try it around the outside this time around. And I think he'll keep it hanging.
He's going to keep a nose there, but how does it work when it sets up Kirwan for the wide entry into turn number 1? He's going to have to give the inside positioning to Pablo, who's still there. Follows the leader, not going to work, and now maybe it's going to flip in favor of Pablo, because Pablo, outside of the racetrack, going to try to go for the top spot. Side by side for the lead. Kirwan looks to the inside, almost 3 wide for a moment. Pupo Lopez stays in front for now, but they are still on each other's door for P2.
This is awesome fighting at the moment, and I mean, if they just keep it side by side everywhere, Casey Kirwan will not have an overtaking opportunity, you know? He'll have to go and pass. When it's just gonna be a sole car out in front. There's a big dive there. Oh, and there's actually a touch as well with the car in front. Casey Kirwan is actually gonna go and do the switchback, which means he was on the outside, jumps up to the inside as the both of the cars went a little bit deeper. It's now Casey Kirwan who takes the lead, and a huge move there. Very, very smart from him.
Took advantage of the contact between Pupo Lopez and Pablo, went to the lead, but they are not done yet, because under attack is Kirwan. Pupo Lopez looking topside, can't make it happen there, but he is going to have a run of steam as they come off of the bus stop chicane. Does he push Kirwan, or does he make a move? Kirwan holds the double yellow. Lopez going to go to the outside of the racetrack. Here we go again. Side by side, prototypes fighting for the overall win at Daytona. Look at 3rd and 4th in the mirror. Your top 4 under a blanket off to turn number 1. Kirwan still on the inside of Lopez. Door to door again. And as they exit off of 1, Kirwan shakes him off.
Got a little bit wide there, almost actually using a bit of the grass, and of course giving a little bit of dirt on the tires, making it slower on the exit. Casey at the moment in P1, the question is whether he can just unleash the pace now and drive away, or will Pupo Lopez be able to just send it somewhere and hold him off, you know? That's why we saw earlier he was trying to just about send the car just to make sure that Casey Kirwan didn't get an opportunity to drive away. But now that he's well clear, it might be some quick laps that will be coming in now from Casey Kirwan. As you look behind, this is the car all the way at the back of this pack. Actually, no, because there's another one behind. It's Tony Kanaan in that pack too, and then I believe even Samsoid, yes indeed, and Jarno Opmeer are in this fight. So it's not a 1, not a 2, not a 3, not a 4, not a 5, no a 6, no a 7. 7-way battle for P1.
Yeah, those 7 cars separated by less than 3 seconds. There were single laps in the rain where Casey Kirwan was 3 seconds faster than anybody else, and a penalty there for Quirkatized. It's going to be a penalty for track limits. And you see he has 30 seconds and a penalty as well for Samsoid. Both of those drivers cutting the entry to the bus stop chicane. You cannot do that and gain an advantage. The sim forces them to yield some time, and that will fracture at least slightly that 7-car lead pack as a handful of drivers had to lift off of the throttle and give that time up. Pablo in 3rd. You're looking up to P2 runner Pupo Lopez, and Casey Kirwan P1. Keeping that 77 honest. They are not letting Kirwan get away.
And Samzoid having to yield there actually puts Stradi back into the fight. So now we have an 8-way fight for the win here. Everyone's still super close within that 1 second mark, which is crucial to be able to feel that effect of the slipstream. But now, in this lap, we are finally going to have those lapped cars that will be happening very, very soon. At least one of them right here. Perhaps that is just a lone wolf, but no, I don't think so, because as you can see, there's more GT3 cars. Now, it's going to be crucial to see where they will overtake, where they're going to be situated on the track, because you can lose a lot of time or you can gain a lot of time by planning this out perfectly.
And you can see the second half of that Casey Kerwin team. Angbiner is 9th in the driver placement, but 4th in team placement, and is just looking to get a good result in this one. Currently last in category, but is not out of it. There are several drivers within striking distance. That's something to watch as well. Meanwhile, back with the prototypes, they have caught the GT3s on the high banks. Look at this, drafted off each other, serpentining through, using the draft off of those slower cars on the bottom of the racetrack, redlining at over 310 kilometers an hour. There's a look to the inside. Traffic in front. Oh, it all goes wrong. Pupo Lopez gets taken out, and he's into the tires.
He was right in between both GT3 cars, and that was a recipe for disaster. He puts his hand up in the sky like, what just happened? But I don't think he noticed that those cars were battling with each other there. And he does. I think that for him means race over, at least at the moment. He'll still have battles, but that does mean he is going to be out of contention for the win. Now, Jarno, with all that chaos, goes up at the P4, 2.8 seconds to the car in front, and he might even have an opportunity, if those cars in front are held up a little bit more, to, you know, fight for the podium, which is where he came from. He was a little bit on his own, I feel like, this race. That's very, very impressive.
Yeah, a rare spot of clean racetrack, and Pablo gets the big advantage of the incident there with Pupo Lopez, because he jumps up, takes over that spot in class. Pablo now second best. Casey Kerwin still the leader. Maybe the first time tonight that Casey hasn't felt a ton of pressure, because he is 2.4 seconds ahead of Pablo. But we've seen, what, 4, 5 at least? Just what we've seen. Penalties for drivers cutting that bus stop on the entry. All it takes is one slowdown penalty like that for Casey Kerwin's advantage to be evaporated. So he has to stay disciplined, as we're inside of 3 minutes left on the clock in the final race here at Daytona. Look how wide he takes that corner.
It's almost as if he is track extending, but he's not getting any penalties, so it means it is within the limits. Now, obviously, as we saw earlier, Casey Kerwin taking those lines super, super tight, so, you know, there could be a little yield or a penalty luring at any point in time. Now, as we go on board with Quirketized, Jarno has managed to go up at the P3 here. Quirketized is trying to get back into that podium position, but there must have been a mistake somewhere, as Jarno is now in the podium positions out of nowhere with Quirketized just about in behind. He will try with, of course, some pressure from behind with Tony Kanaan as well. Tony Kanaan is still on the podium as well.
And TK's got to look at getting at the podium still, as Quirketai is trying to catch back up. He was a part of one of those kind of big packs of cars with the prototypes and the GT3s together. Here's the perspective from Kanaan. He's in 5th. Quirketized, next car up the road, P4. Jarno in 3rd. Final step of the podium. Maybe those two will do battle as we head off and into it. And here's a second look. Pupo Lopez is watching it back. Those GT3s are fighting with each other. He is also fighting Pablo to his left-hand side. Tried to split the gap 3 wide. It was a bold move, but it did not pan out.
That was unfortunate. It looks like, if you look at it like that, it looks intentional, but the car on the inside was just about trying to keep a very, very tight line. And when you're trying to do that, you're turning so much that a little bit of a, you know, a loss on the traction can just about give you some oversteer, which means the steering wheel goes to the right, and then obviously once you hit the car that is on the inside, which was a super small gap anyway, you just keep going to the right. So yeah, that's exactly what happened there. And that took out 2 drivers, because there was a car on the outside as well. So yeah, that was very unfortunate for Pablo, but he had to get by at that point. Otherwise, he would have lost Casey Kerwin, which he did anyway. But yeah, very high risk at this time, no reward. But it would have been yeah, it would have been a good move if he managed to go all the way around.
Looking at what is the closest battle amongst the prototypes with the white flag in the air. Final lap around this track. Second and third, a bit too much of a gap. I think Jarno's focus needs to be defending with Quirkatized all over the gearbox. Behind them, Kanan watching on. It is a three-way battle for the final step on the podium.
100%, as we're on the last and final lap at the moment. Quirkatized will try to see if he can find an opening here. He is gonna have to try and break as close as possible to Jarno Opmeer here in this next section. Will Jarno be able to stay away from those penalties throughout this section where it was notoriously bad to get those warnings and penalties, but he does stay away for the moment. The car behind does as well, however. And now, as you can see in the mirror on the top of the screen, the car gets bigger and bigger and bigger. He is coming, and he's gonna go to the right hand side. Jarno decides to go and keep the inside, and it seems like he'll be able to keep it. Will he though, Evan?
Side by side to the striped checkered flag, and it is Jarno who hangs on to third by 0.07 thousandths of a second. Nose to nose, Jarno over Quirkatized for third and fourth in the prototypes. Look at that to the stripe.
Look at that. That is epic. A literal photo finish with 7 thousandths of a second. Absolutely insane. I don't think that could have been any closer. I think this is the closest finish we've seen so far. Now on board with Grand Pooh Bear. Of course, now in that, I believe, P6 here. Still fighting for a really good position in the championship as well. Stormelina, once again, of course, starting in P9, goes all the way up into P3. This must be an amazing track for Stormelina, with Agbiner coming home in a P8. Not bad whatsoever as well.
Well, what a moment. I mean, it was great to watch. That finish, I mean, talk about a photo finish, 0.07 of a thousandth there. I mean, it was incredible to see, but that's racing at the end of the day. It can be so close and yet so far. And our points, they're a little bit less forgiving, not so much in third and fourth, which they were battling for, but especially if that difference was first and second, that would have been 7 points that would have separated them by just that much. So we'll have to wait till we get to those standings. But Evan, really, when I look at that, it was more of a game of penalties and things that kind of went wrong that threw a few cars off course versus maybe some of the best driving that we've seen.
Yeah, it really was. And it was those margins, right? Because it was on the wet earlier, maybe these drivers didn't have an opportunity to get a good sense of kind of where those curbs are. It was really the bus stop that got a lot of people. And because that's such a high speed area, it has to be very tightly enforced on those slowdowns, because otherwise you just have guys dipping the right side tires in the grass the whole time to, save a couple tenths. And it hit not only a couple of drivers once, but even some twice. They were continuing to push it to be aggressive. And that really was the storyline. We hadn't seen that been a factor yet tonight, but that was, I'm not going to say the sole reason why Casey Kirwan won this one, because we all know how fast he is. But at one point, we had 7 cars within 3 seconds of each other. That certainly gave him some breathing room.
Tom, sound about right in your eyes?
Sounds about right. I mean, I'm just excited because, of course, for anybody watching at home or wherever you're watching right now, we have one whole track to go. Not one race, 2 races with wet and dry. I'm excited.
I love it. Chat's excited, and we're excited up here on the desk. But guess what, chat? This is more about you, because we need your help. Chat, our friends at State Farm need help selecting the perfect moment for us to shine a bright light on during today's State Farm Spotlight. So check out the poll now and choose the one you'd like to see, and we'll break it down later on in the show. A lot of great clips in there, so help us out by voting. We're going to take a quick break while you guys do that. When we come back, we'll give you our standings and one more track to go here in our iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We gave you a little bit of time here on our Twitch Rivals iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear, Rain Day, Evan Pasoko, Tom on the cast with you. But we gave you a task beforehand, and that time is now over. It is done and dusted. You had a chance to vote. Well, we've got the results. It's time for the State Farm Spotlight, where we shine a bright light on something special from today's action. Chat. Earlier in the show, just a little bit earlier, we asked you to select a clip, and you selected this one for the segment, and now it's time to light it up. Super excited to see this one, guys, and especially for those who maybe missed it on broadcast. I had a chance to see it beforehand. It's Tony Kanaan's incredible reflexes here to avoid a sketchy situation in Spa.
Ooh, let's see. Have we seen this live as well? As he goes through the... ooh, there we go, yeah.
Oh,
And that wasn't even a car in his own class. He did overtake a car in his own class. Man, that could have ended
that
very...
wasn't just an avoidance. That was a pass, by the way.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
And in the dry, of all the moments we had, how about a moment in the dry weather?
Pretty amazing stuff there. I mean, from Tony as well. He started to jump back up the leaderboards with moments like that. But before we get back to our gameplay, let's shine one more quick spotlight on our friends at State Farm. Whether in-game or in real life, State Farm is on your level. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Oh, man. So it's been exciting to see, Evan, moments like that. You can see why Tony is catching up here.
That's the moments that kind of make or break your night, right? You can't practice for something like that. That's simply reflexes. And I think one thing, too, that anybody who drives on the Simulot will tell you, and Tom, you can kind of vouch for this as well, is a lot of it is really just muscle memory and reflexes. You're almost not actively thinking about what you're doing with your hands and feet as you go through the corner, and certainly not in a moment like that where they're almost crashing in front of you. It's just muscle memory. Your brain, your hands almost know what to do before your brain does. It's just muscle memory, and that's just years and years of experience for TK to see a wreck and not be afraid to just slam on the brakes, but make a pass in a moment like that.
As we head into our standings here, Tom, I want to get your thoughts, not just on that clip, but where we stand after with the captains, especially Tony making that rise, but also just the state of affairs as Casey's still on top here with 50 points after that Daytona.
100%. I mean, Casey Kerwin at the moment looking very good after that third track. Almost a perfect race here. Almost a perfect track. 50 points. That's 2 wins, right? 25 points in 2 races. So that makes it 50. He couldn't have done any better here. With Jarno Opmeer, of course, getting 25 in total. So he was doing very well. But will he be able to go and keep that going for 4th track as well? That's the question.
That is the question here. Teammates, though, on that side of things, Borgia continuing the domination, but Saxo coming up a little bit closer and closer. The same top 3 that we've seen across the day, Evan, continue to overall show that they know what they're doing and bring a lot of points to the table for their squads as well when we look at the overall team standings. And that's why Saxo, Borgia, they are in that top 2 and 3. But it's Jarno and Wacky who have put together, just by the slimmest of margins, Evan, that still 7-point lead after 3 tracks.
Yeah, and I think you look to Casey's 50 that he put up. That 60 number for the team has them back within the world of possibility. It is still a hearty margin from Team 1 to Team 4. And you've got Tony Kanaan and Borgia, 7 points back. Strati and Saxo only an additional 5 back. That is tight. And Casey knows those numbers. And he's going to want to put up a 50 again. He's going to need some help, but we've got 4, maybe 5 teams looking at that numbers that have a chance still to win this overall championship.
I mean, that's a great conversation to look at now. We got one more track left. Tom, we're starting to get into who's going to win this thing.
I mean, looking at who was the most consistent, Tony Kanaan and his teammate. That's honestly, 49, 49, and 51. If they keep doing that, and there's just a little mishap from the card in front of Wacky Jackie and Jarno, then that's it. Win it with consistency, I would say. But perhaps the pressure will be on in the last race now, so perhaps they'll, do some different things than what they were doing so far. So, yeah, let's see.
Well, the Twitch Rivals community, we asked you to do something to show off your racing rigs by submitting them on X or Instagram and tagging us. Here are some of your submissions. I think we got a couple of rigs to show. Let's see what we got. MGT
Oh, it's on fire.
MX1.
The rig's on fire, literally.
It's cozy.
Oh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Vibes.
I love the cinematic as well.
Beautiful stuff, MGT. Yeah, I like the lighting. It's a great, it fits. Oh, this is Alonso
There you
Jr.
go.
89. That's
That's
pro
epic.
right there.
He's got the track
same
map
name.
of the
Yeah.
Nürburgring too on the wall, just in case you get lost and somewhere on those like 80 corners they've got on a lap. Just look over to the model on your wall. I love the ultra wides, right? Some drivers will go for the triples. Ultra wides are fun. Fourth monitor on top. I'd love to use that for scoring. That's kind of like the pinnacle of sim setups is right there. That's picture perfect.
These segments are no joke, man. Absolutely no joke. And look at this one. That reminds me a little bit of Grand Pooh Bears, kind of. It's got those 3 monitors out wide as well. Ali Nako. Awesome stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks great.
this
Of course,
is-
with the LEDs on the wheel as well.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
this is
epic.
like what people hope to get to. Oh, I like this one. This is clean. Very, very clean. Different approach. Very simple. The one screen, but gets the job done.
A lot of
The one
buttons,
monitor.
though.
Yeah, button boxes. You've got the
Yeah,
detachable
sick.
wheels, so they could swap out whatever wheel they want to use depending on what kind of racing they're doing. That looks like a nice beefy pedal set as well. So the monitors may not be as flashy as others, but when it comes to the hardware, that checks all the boxes. Look at this. I've never seen them.
Crazy is that?
I've never seen them triple stacked vertically. I've seen that fourth monitor up there, but stacking it to the roof.
I'm
That's a
guessing there's
3x3.
another one. I'm guessing there's another one. You can't even see it on the screen right
Is it
now.
just going to keep going over and over?
Big Q. I mean, I love it. 3 screens up there, but he's got the priorities right. You know, he's got to race, but he's also got to talk to chat. I mean, that's an important
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
When you
He's
talk
got
about
Mike there.
your
He's got
setup.
the lights. He's good.
Thinking like a true racer streamer. Bishop Wash here is, you know what? I like the red, and for whatever reason, it looks like the coming out of the back, the exhaust kind of reminds me a little bit of like flowers for some reason. I'm getting like a little bit of Japanese vibe going on here with the coloring, the scheme. It's very nice and it's cozy, but it's serious. You know, this is where racing is done. And Bishop, thanks for sharing. Oriole Race Engine, though, he has a video for
yeah,
us.
he's got
We got
serious
the whole
pedals.
tour.
He's got
Oh, yeah.
serious pedals, that's for sure. Look at that. Ultra
How
wide
we-
as well.
I love the video too. I mean, I think this is. We need testimonials on these rigs as well.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's got some trophies too. I love when they put trophies in the shot, right?
Absolutely.
And here's how you can start too, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't too dissimilar from how most people start, and it's a entry level wheel and a pedal set. It's running off of a laptop with a monitor. I mean,
Yep.
it just goes to show we've kind of been talking about it. And most of the people in the racing today has had kind of quite extravagant setups. This kind of setup can compete just as fairly on the racetrack. So for those of you who may not have, tried sim racing and want to get into it, that's the perfect example of kind of that stage one.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I started with a controller myself, but this is a whole lot different than a controller because look at that. Honestly, I love when they make use of like a dark room with the RGB and stuff, like with the computer below the seat. This looks awesome. Like just looking at the sim, you don't even have to sit in it and it already looks good.
It is important. I mean, this is where the entire thing is done. You kind of create your own environment when you take it
Yeah.
this seriously. So every little bit matters. You see the ultra wide little monitor up on top as well. Shoes to the side. I don't know if that's indicating that, ready to slip
Team
on
shoes.
it, ready to race at any moment. I just slip into my shoes and I'm jumping in, Danny. I love it. You've got
It's
the
almost
gear.
cheating, right? Having an ultra wide because you're able to see almost like past the mirrors. So
Yeah.
like you don't have to look left or right with your steering wheel. Just like here as well. I think the ultra wides are very, very popular. I'm running an ultra wide, for example, right now as well. Almost similar to what this looks like. It's it's really convenient, I would say. And I'm sure a few of the racers today also have ultra wides.
Very cool right here. Talk about monitors.
It's got
as well.
the pit lane markings down under it too. So it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
only the rig, it's the whole room that's themed right there.
Look at all these setups as well. I mean, everyone who sent us these, you guys are amazing. I mean, there's so many passionate racing fans and racing sim fans here. You could see. Oh, and I like this because it's the dual setup here. You could do it with a partner. You could do it with a friend. You could be racing in there. They still have the ultra wide if they want to join you. Doesn't seem like they've got the full chair rig, but maybe they want to play on controller or some of those mountable wheels. But this, again, like you were saying, Evan, everyone starts out in different positions, different placements. I remember I had my first setup when I was making videos in my parents' living room, and I had one monitor there and I was like just figuring out my space, but you could still have a great experience no matter
Two
what. your
monitors is a
setup is.
luxury. Two
Yeah.
monitors having it while racing is a lot. Like you can stream easily with that one.
Yep.
I can see most of these people are Twitch streamers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lights, the mics, we're picking up on it. But again, we've even seen at least, I think, 1 or 2 people in the racing today have just a single monitor, right? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
You really can. You get a racing seat if you want to customize it. You can build it into your desk, or maybe one day you go for this, right? I think that's
It's got the
everybody's
telemetry.
dream. Yeah, that's what I love my 4th monitor for, is numbers. Give me data, brake indicators, throttle. I don't know what any of that means.
He's calling
but-
himself a newbie,
but
but
he knows what it means.
That's beyond our pay grade there. I don't know
Oh,
what
look at
those
Is that
are.
the flight sim and the race sim going on? Is that a
Wow.
2-for-1? I need an invite over there.
one of them can be the helicopter filming the
Yeah,
whole
there you go.
race, and the other one
Yeah.
can race. You know.
Yeah, managing the land and the skies. I mean, this is Richard DP. You guys are killing it right there with that one. Oh, and just the showcase.
Oh, it's Saxo Gaming. It's
Yes.
Saxo Gaming.
There you go.
He's got too many wheels.
I
he's
thought
got
Is there
too
such
many
thing as too many wheels? I think you would disagree. Although he's at a room.
I definitely remember those wheels on that setup. Saxo Gaming's done well. I think it's 2nd place right now for the entire competition. So a great setup. You can see why. The lights, the design, so much goes into it. Strati as well joining our lineup today and showing off his.
He's also
setup
got too
here.
many wheels. You can only put one of them at the same time. What it is?
Is
That's
it what?
awesome.
What is it? Is that the progression? Is that what it is, or is it?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, some of the wheels, like you want a round wheel, you want a formula wheel, you want
Right.
a prototype wheel, and then at some point you have a cabinet full of wheels like he has. So it's all be
wheels.
turned into
An
a job
arsenal
almost, yeah.
of wheels.
Oh, this is a great setup right here. This looks.
I love that. I think even you can move it away, the steering wheel, to make it like a really compact little package, which is awesome. With a lot of the simulators that you have nowadays, you can just put it away, which is, I mean, obviously when you have limited space, it's perfect.
Yes. Yes. Oh man, Upward Worm as well. Got the sound panels there, keeping it quiet inside the room and making sure that the system is right. Got the carpet, shoes next to it. I'm loving it as well. Seems very cozy. Now that's
Or the curves. The curved
Ultra,
monitors is
ultra
what gets
wide.
me.
I think that's
Oh, yeah.
Wacky Jackie's simulator.
Oh,
was racing
yeah.
today as well.
A little peek behind the curtain. We've seen some of that in action today, but I love the either the triples or the ultra ride, but the curved always gets me. That's almost got a full kind of 180 degrees around him.
Yeah, he's gonna have neck pain at the end of today.
this
Yuri,
is-
also an esports driver, looking actually. Oh no, you could just about see, but he has a monitor, but you can just about not see it right here because of the angle. It has a triple one. It almost looks like he has 2 right here, but that's awesome.
That is the meta for sure. Congratulations to everyone who got featured in the feed, as well as everyone who sent us those pictures in our iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear here on Twitch Rivals. So cool to see what everyone is working with, and also the varying levels of if you want to get engaged and start your iRacing career or your sim racing career, how that can look and where you could take it, because there's so many variances. You can get inspired on any level that you're currently at. Evan, Tom, that was super exciting. It seems like, though, our game is ready for our final track. We're heading to Atlanta. Take it away.
I know this racetrack is a personal favorite of the iRacing staff, and if they built a roller coaster for road racing cars, well, that would be this. It would be Road Atlanta, this 2.54-mile hill and dale 12-turn circuit is home of IMSA's Petit Le Mans, and is a fantastic place to close out this championship. And we got to rewind way back to Silverstone to remember the last time we had a dry weather qualifying session, but that's what we've got right now.
Yep, we're starting with a dry session here for the start. So dry qualifying, then a dry race, and then, of course, to finish it off in style, we'll have a wet race. And, I mean, to decide the championship, let's see how close it will be. But to decide the championship in a wet race, it's fireworks guaranteed. So yeah, obviously this track as well, once again, a lot of elevation changes, like you said before too. Looks a bit like a roller coaster. I wouldn't want to imagine what it's like being shaken from left to right going through all those turns. But Casey Kerman at the moment, starting his first lap. You saw him come through the last and final turn with a car parked up on the left hand side. He is looking very consistent here, coming through the first few turns, only a few thousands down or hundreds down on his fast fastest lap time at the moment. But there we go, we're getting towards the green, and that means he's quicker compared to his previous fastest. It looks absolutely hooked up as he goes super wide there then, but it's still within the limits, 7,000s up.
You probably can't get any more than that. Almost a 10th in the green. Now, almost kind of a double apexer. 6 and then turn 7 right there. But this is the most important exit on the corner because it's going to take you down the long back straightaway. Look at the green to pile in as Kerwin got the exit that he wanted. It's going to be a great passing opportunity in this race as well as you make that run down to right here. Turn number 10, heavy braking zone, right-hander for 10B, and then the dip. This suspension bottoming down and up taken. This is one of the most famous corners on that racetrack there. They kind of toned it down a little bit, but it's still just as aggressive, I think, as ever to the stripe. You really want to make the pass before turn 10 because that is a sketchy set of corners there over the crest, down the bank to be side by side. Right here under that pedestrian walkway, you got to swing it all the way wide, carry the speed, and it's easy to right here. If you dip those left side tires off in the grass, you can say goodbye to the race car.
And there we go then. Qualifying is over. We've got Casey Kerwin in P1. Pablo right behind in P2. Then we've got Paul Lopez in P3. And on the teammate side, we've got HCDZ, which once again, I love his name, is in P1. Borja in P2. And then Grant Poubert, who does his best qualifying so far, I believe, in P3. Not bad whatsoever.
Yeah, big ups. He's enjoying Road Atlanta. He mentioned when we talked to him pre-race that I think it was his favorite racetrack, or Petit Le Mans, I think, is one of the favorite races that he watches in North America. So we should not be surprised that he's a fan of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Hull County, Georgia, USA. A couple of seconds left on the clock for drivers who are actively on a fast lap to complete their lap times. You can see Poubert is not in the car right now. He has jumped out to spectate, and curious if he was looking to see if those left side tires in the grass may have disallowed a late fast lap attempt. No delta in terms of lap times there for Jarno Opmeer's lap time, but hard to tell where he is. I don't know if he's going to make it to the stripe or not. If he's going to try to get a time in, checkered flag is out. There's that tricky 12. Not enough.
Just about. He doesn't make another lap then. And he finishes off with about 0.8 of a second to P1. He knows he can go quicker, I believe. But look at how close the gap is from in that whole GTP section, in the front section with the pro drivers. Almost 1.3 seconds. But it's very, very close from what we've seen so far. And it's proving to be probably a very, very close fight here. As everybody goes and gets themselves onto the grid, we will see a race, of course, with the qualifying positions in the dry. And then after that, we will have a... honestly, I like it like this. A dry qualifying, a dry race, and then you'll have the crazy start with the inverted positions for the wet race later on.
I agree. I think the dry quali and the wet invert is the most chaotic of the combinations that we have seen. And it means that it is going to be an exciting run to the end. And it looks like we might get about an entire trip around this racetrack behind the pace car to kind of walk you through it for those who may not be familiar with this Road Atlanta circuit. Again, it's well known in the North American racing scene, but maybe does not necessarily have that same kind of name recognition as the Spas and the Silverstones and the Daytonas of the world do. This racetrack is going to play a big hand in crowning this championship. And again, quite the antithesis of Daytona. We were talking about flat racing. Quite the opposite. This is kind of back in Spa territory where we're rolling through the hills.
100%. As everybody gets ready, the nerves will be getting bigger and bigger as we look on board with Kenny, who has dropped in to race as well in the GTP section. He's going to be starting P9, and he'll be trying to do a good job here in the last two races. We haven't seen him race so far, but he's dropped in here for the last two races, and hopefully he'll be able to help his teammates to, get a good position in the championship.
So as we roll, let's kind of do an exploratory lap here of Road Atlanta. Right hand, turn number 5 here is turn number 1, and then you'll go up through the S's. It includes an uphill portion of the racetrack and a downhill portion. So little left-hand kink here. That's going to be turn number 2. As you can see, Pupo Lopez kind of shaking the car, scrubbing the tires, trying to get some heat into them. Right there, right-hander, turn number 3, you're going to have to get out of the throttle for. left-hander 4, and then it's the downhill side where you can carry all of that speed down this winding right-hander. You saw Casey Kerwin when we were on board with him for his qualifying lap. You got to watch out for that sand on the right-hand side there. That yields to a different, shorter layout of this track. You can cheat a little bit on those curbs on the exit, but not too much. And then again, what you do down here in turn 6 and 7 is super important because it'll set you up for that long back straightaway.
Now then, as we are on board with Pablo right behind of the safety car, we'll see the safety car dip into the pits later on when we're ready. Ooh, there we go, Pablo getting very close to the safety car. And
he wants the safety car to go now. He's ready.
Exactly, he's ready. But who is not ready yet is Casey Kerwin, who is going to be the one who obviously is in P1, so he'll be the one who should go as the first driver here. But we'll have to wait and see whether he'll be the one leading into turn 1 as well. We'll find out in just a short while.
Casey's going to have the benefit, too, as they come down that dip part of the racetrack for turns 11 and 12 of being on the inside. Should give him an advantage. I'm curious if Pupo Lopez in third could maybe follow Casey Kerwin through and challenge Pablo in a battle for second and third. And then this is that long straight that I had talked about. Big run, a lot of drafting, and a heavy braking zone into a straight 90-degree corner. Slowest turn on the circuit. Right-hander, turn 10B is the exit. And then again, you come over the crest, and you're full throttle from this point on out. Another spot on track, though, where it's not really wide enough for too wide under green. Pace car off and in. Final track on the calendar. Let's go racing at Road Atlanta. We're underway.
Here we go, that is green, green, green. It is Pablo Lopez right behind, trying to go for a move, but deciding against it. Now, it is Pablo GZ who is closing in and staying close to Casey Kerwin, doing different lines though, but in third, getting a worse exit and almost having Pablo Lopez in that mirror, almost getting by. Now, as we look further, Quirketize in that P3 position is trying to see if he can stay close enough so that when they're past this very tricky section, where it's very hard to overtake, he might be able to go for a move, as now it is Casey Kerwin making a mistake, and Pablo GZ will go around the outside. Will he be able to manage that move before the main straight? He won't be able to, but because he's on the outside, he has a better traction zone. Not quite yet though. Casey Kerwin managed to be able to get good speed onto the straight, and this is going to be hard because you need that extra, speed on this straight to be able to mount an attack. It seems like, of course, because the next turn is to the inside, whoever's braking later will get the opportunity and will get the position. And at the moment, it doesn't seem like Pablo GZ will be able to do it because Casey Kerwin keeps the car hanging on the inside. I thought he had the move done, but Casey Kerwin said no. You first have to go through my car, and he couldn't do it, obviously, through his car.
I think he thought he had it too, but Casey held his ground outside, maintained the spot. Meanwhile, Pablo GZ will stay P2. We jump on board, back in traffic with Yarno, currently scored in the number 6 spot. Work to do after that car started there. Move him up 1 from P7 on the grid. Look at all the passing opportunities in front. This is a rough racetrack as well. These cars are getting shook around. I can only imagine what Grand Pooh Bear feels like with his motion rig back there in the GT3 classes. Quirketized in third, watching on. Pablo GZ, bit of a wide exit that time off of the corner. Can we see the run here in a challenge for P2? Is there enough straightaway for Quirketized to get the draft?
It'll be tough because it doesn't seem like he's gotten a good enough exit and to maintain that speed to keep getting closer and closer. I don't think he's going to send it here. Nope, he won't. He will stay behind, but he's so close at the moment that perhaps through to the next part, he'll be able to, find an opportunity. But in doing so, in putting pressure on the car in front, Casey is just about going to have, more breathing space to drive away slowly but surely. You can see the gap getting bigger and bigger to the car in front. Quirketize just trying to see if he can do different lines to see an opening somewhere, but so far the opening has not come.
And that racetrack in front of him is just holding the preferred lane, and it's going to be tricky for Quirketize, especially this half of the racetrack, to find a gap. Look at that, right to the gearbox. But where are you going to go? You got to be wide down to turn 6, so he's forced to tuck in line, try to set it up, but again, hope that that back straightaway gives him a passing opportunity. He looks for the undercut on the exit of 7. He's in the green, continuing to put down fast lap times, but That's still a good exit off of the corner there by the car in second, Pablo GZ. If he continues to get good exits, it's going to make life really difficult for Quirkatized to try to get there. Right now, he finally gets the benefit of the draft, but it's just too little too late.
It was a bit tough because Pablo GZ was a bit slower throughout the turn, and Quirkatized had to do a different line, had to take a bit of a shorter line, and in doing so, also having to go off the throttle to make sure he didn't get into the rear of Pablo. And because he did that, he didn't carry all that extra speed that he would have gotten by staying behind and doing a different line and focusing on the exit. He tried to just stay out of trouble, and after that, he couldn't go for the move going into the braking zone. But now as we're on board with Casey Kerwin, he is driving away slowly but surely. Jarno Opmeer crucial because of course he is fighting with that team championship, but currently in P6 that won't be enough points compared to Casey Kerwin and the rest who are fighting for really good positions like Purple Lopez, like Quirkatized to have that fight later on as well. As he goes super close, and he knew it himself, that could have been the end to not only his own race, but also Daniel Gray's race. Now, let's keep an eye also on Tony Kanaan, because he was super consistent together with his teammate. He is at the moment in that P9 position, and that's not where you want to be consistent at, He needs to be around P5, P6, somewhere along those lines to score good points together with his teammate to be able to challenge for that team championship.
Yeah, all of the fast names are up and in contention, but the ball is very much in the court of Jarno and for Tony to be able to pick it up. But how about things in the GT3 category for Borja, who has been consistently one of the best cars in that category all night long. Right now, second best in class, trying to chase down that car in front. It is HCDZ running away up the road for that category lead, trying to catch the one of the lone Lamborghinis in the field up there in the number 11 spot, but nothing brewing this time. HCZZ maybe having one of their best runs on the afternoon. Let's jump back to prototypes and on board with Quirkatized. This battle is for second in class. That's Pablo GZ up the road.
Still, Quirkatized just looking for an opportunity, looking for a spot. It looks like this track is just a little bit tougher to go for moves at. And you really have to start thinking about, your tactic. Where are you going to place your car? How are you going to approach the next few turns to get yourself to the position, to be able to send it somewhere? But because they're so even at the front here in terms of lap times, he is a little bit quicker, about 2/10 on his last lap. Fastest laps at the moment for Quirkatized. But where is that opening? As we already see some GT3 cars, this could be an opportunity. This could be an opportunity as GT3 cars are going to slow down the car of Pablo in front. Ooh la la, look at this. He is fighting, seeing where he can go for moves. GT3 car still in the way. Quirkatized is going to try and go for a better exit. And there we go, it's super close with the GT3. And that allows the car behind of Pulpo Lopez to go and have an opportunity as well. And that is exactly what Quirkatized did not want to happen. And there we go, another GT3 car has to keep the inside once again. Get a better traction zone, can't quite get it. It's almost a balance of you're gonna get a better traction zone, I'm gonna get a better traction zone, and then it's still neutralized as in. But that was very close.
Yeah, those GT3s were, I think, equally as inconvenient to all of the prototype cars, except for Kerwin. His advantage almost doubled navigating those cars before the S's as opposed to after. On board with Samsoid, the car up the road you're looking up to next, that is Tony Kanaan. They are battling right now for 9th and 10th, so back of the pack here in the prototypes, and these cars aren't damaged, they aren't off the pace, that's just how tight the margins are here in these prototypes at Road Atlanta. You can see two more cars up the road as well. Kenny 500 and Stratty next two in line. Kind of a four-car battle back here in the S's.
It's awesome racing. Everyone is super close except for Casey from P1 to P2 due to the fact, obviously, that there was big battle from P2 to P3. But yeah, everyone is in this fight still. If there's one little moment later on, then anybody can profit from it. Jarno in the middle of the pack at this point in time, trying to just avoid those GT3s that you can see on the left-hand side, that Ferrari, the green Ferrari, getting past quite nicely. But look up in front, so many cars in such a small amount of space there, which can only mean we'll see some issues, as we've seen in the Daytona race as well earlier, where I believe it was Pulpo Lopez who just about came together with one of the GT3 cars, trying to lap them, just like is happening right now. Ooh, here we go.
This is not good. Yeah, that's not going to be a spot you want to catch these cars either, is a black flag yielding time for Quirketize there as they catch those slower GT3 cars as they go through the dip. Bit of a sketchy part on racetrack. There was a bit of a touch there as well. I think they all made it through, but that is a dicey spot. That dip and these S's that they're in right now is not where you want to find yourself catching the GT3s. And they're going to catch these GT3s. We talked about the track distances. This racetrack by far the smallest on the category. It ties in pretty closely with Daytona at almost equal distance, but it feels so much tighter. These prototypes are going to be dealing with more GT3s in this race than they have at any other point tonight.
It also looks like the team that is currently leading, right? The team of Wacky Jackie and Jarno Opmeer, I believe they're currently leading in the team standings, are not necessarily doing an amazing race at the moment in terms of points gained. We go on board with Grand Pooh Bear. I saw in the chat earlier saying haptic gaming chairs when? Well, now, because Grand Pooh Bear has those haptic gaming chairs right now. If he moves, his chair moves as well. Is that something that's going to help him? Well, let's see. He's doing a good job. As you can see him moving around all over the place, trying to go and find a spot for that P3, fighting at the moment with Saxo Gaming. They both have an insane simulator setup at home, as we looked at before. But who will come out? According to Grand Pooh Bear, the one with the most expensive setup wins. So let's see if he will win.
He's got a couple more spots. He's got to get around Saxo, Borgia, and HCDZ if he wants to win the GT3s here tonight. There's some more motion on board with Saxo, the lead car in that battle for third and fourth in class amongst the GT3s. Behind them as well, not that far back, as Zelray. That's fifth in class, so make it a three-way battle. But you can see these cars are getting wrestled around this racetrack, and you love to see it. We talk about, how can you get sore? Can you really work up a sweat or a workout on the sim? Well, that's a good example there, is when you get a motion rig on top of all the physical inputs of braking with loaded brake and gas pedals and turning the wheel and, shifting with your paddle shifters over the course of, the better part of the last 3.5 hours or so. You can break a sweat.
I can tell you right now that everyone, if they pull up their arms, it's going to be sweaty. That is for sure. Now, as we're on board for the fight, very close here, basically for P2. Like the whole of the whole of the pack here is within a second of each other. So if any mistakes are going to be happening, then Jarno Opel will be there to take a profit, because P2 is right there in front. Now, Casey Kerwin is not really a challenge at this point in time, but we have seen him making those mistakes in the past as well. And now with another GT3 that's not going to come at the perfect time for Jarno Opmeer, also for the car in front of Daniel Gray, but he doesn't really get the exit to be able to stuck in behind to move on.
There's no slipstream
in those standings. There's no slipstream, he's saying as well. He doesn't feel like the slipstream around this track is making a big enough impact to be able to, be side by side going into this next one, because this is the main overtaking opportunity with that long straight, obviously.
And of course, it is a long straightaway by this track's standards, but it pales in comparison to the Kemmel Straight that we saw at Spa, the Hangar Straight that we saw at Silverstone, and even when you talk about that big complex through turns 1 and 2 with the NASCAR oval to the bus stop at Daytona. So it is the longest straightaway at this racetrack by far and large, but again, overall scale, not nearly as long as some of the other straights that he may have been used to from the earlier races here today. There is your overall leader, Casey Kerwin, who has really turned it up a wick here in the second half, trying to will his team out of a gap and try to capture that team championship as well. The captain championship on the line for him as well. He is 5 seconds ahead of this battle right here. Pablo GZ, the one playing defense, and still is Quirketized, trying desperately to find a way around from P3.
We can see the position changes as well on the top left-hand side right now of Quirketized POV. With Pulpo Lopez losing a position, but everyone else actually gaining positions right here. Mostly because of Samzoid losing 5 positions in this race. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of position changes after Quirketize manages to get by. But I think Pablo is just putting up a magnificent defense at this time. He's making the car look around 2 times as wide as it is at the moment. And with a car as wide as Pablo's, I think it's going to be very tough for anybody to get by. There we go. He's pushing it. You can see it.
Nice.
He's getting a little bit desperate, and he jumped back on board in traffic there, leaving the Pablo GZ battle behind, and talking about some of the other spots for position there. You're on board with Pablo now. These prototypes are wide. I mean, they're big race cars, and this racetrack is not wide. So from Pablo's perspective, he doesn't really need to drive the car that defensively to protect. He simply needs to just take away that preferred line, and it's going to make it awfully difficult for Quirketize to find an open bit of asphalt just because of the sheer scale of these prototypes on a pretty thin racetrack like this.
Obviously right now it's looking very, very tough to overtake, but honestly I think the race will be completely different going into the rain because the lines will be different. Also the speeds carried through the corner, because that's the main thing, right? There's so much speed carried through the corner. You can make a small change at this point in time if you're a very similar pace compared to the car in front, but when you get that rain involved later on, you can't hit the apex, which means, you know, getting as close as possible to the inside of the curbs, because there will be puddles, there will be water, standing water. And as we look in front, there are some battles happening at this time. We have two cars being stuck behind over GT3, and he is very, very frustrated at the moment, thinking, my goodness, I want to go for that move. And now there might be an opportunity behind as well. Pulpo Lopez trying to go for the overtake, and because there's some space left on the left-hand side, it might be Pulpo Lopez who actually goes and profits the most from this battle, because Quirketize is on the inside, getting a worse exit. Just about, though, Pulpo Lopez doesn't manage to go and keep it all the way around the outside, but he is there. And now starting to itch on his nose, on his face, getting a bit hot in there, and he says, get out of the way with those hands. I wonder if Quirketize will be able to feel him weaving right there at the screen as well, but I don't think so. I think he's only focused up in front.
Yeah, it's just so tricky when he's on the outside of a side-by-side battle there in 7. You just can't stay there. And look what it did, is it really benefited Pablo GZ, who's been able to open up a big gap for second. I mean, Quirketize had been breathing down his neck basically from the drop of the green flag. Now he's got some breathing room. Pulpo Lopez is going to have to kind of regroup and to catch back up. I think based on the pace we've seen, they will get there again. I think that's going to happen, but it at least takes a couple laps of worry out of it for Pablo GZ and gives him an opportunity to breathe. And look at Quirketize, just as quickly as he dropped the back, he's there again. GT car is going to be out of the way by the time they get down again. If you're going to make a move, it has to happen here. But so good on the exit of 7 has been Pablo GZ. And again, look at him open the gap on the exit of turn 7.
And remember, it's the last lap at the moment. White flag has been waved, so it has to happen now. It does not look like he's close enough, though, to send it. But maybe, with all the frustrations and with all the cars in front right here on the last and final lap, it might be possible. He just about actually uses the car behind to, look at that, create a big gap to the car behind. So it looks like Pablo GZ will go over the line after Casey Kerwin to get P2 here, with Casey Kerwin leading the race and winning it as well. A dominant win right here. We haven't really seen Casey Kerwin apart from that battle at the start of the race, but very, very well executed. And of course, Quirketize must be a little bit frustrated with so many battles, but then being so close to getting that overtake done, but could not quite. As now we're on board with Grand Pooh, who has gone past the checkered flag as well in a P5. Not bad whatsoever.
Yeah, P5 in class, very good as well, and a track that he very much enjoys. You see Storm Molina as well. I think she'll be 7th in class as we come down to the end. And I know it was a far cry from the, 29-second win he had at Daytona, but 8 seconds, that was still a pretty hearty showing for Kerwin.
Kerwin continues up on top. It's not been a question of whether he could take the captain's role, because him and Jarno, they've been going back and forth, but Kerwin has kind of picked up pace and stayed with it. It's been a matter of how that team dynamic could potentially change with Agbener, and I don't know if that has changed. We've seen some of these results. There's been a lot more on that side, but that's where things start to get really, really interesting. Great call, guys, at our start with Daytona. We obviously now have to shift into the rain for our next matchup, but we got to take a look at the standings too. And with our last race coming up, Tom, that means that when we do take a look at these standings, there are going to be some point totals that you might not be able to overcome with just one race left. Kerwin, with what he just did with a 25-point win, might have just secured first place, at least in the captain side of things.
100%. We'll have to wait and see. If the gap is bigger than 25 points between any of the drivers, they will not be able to make it. And realistically, looking towards like the middle of the field, you might see already as well, like gaps being too big. But I think, honestly, anything is possible because this race right here, at a track where we saw you have to use the curbs, be going over those curbs so hard. With the rain, you cannot do that. And especially around this track, I think the rain will cause chaos even more than we have seen on any other track. So I think anything is possible here. Even if there's a 25 gap between the guy who would normally finish P1 and P10, I think the guy who would normally be in P10 could now get an insane result as well here in the last race.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of now the rain being the last race, and also with all of the standings able to shift, Evan, this gives us the most unpredictability for how this is going to finish.
Yeah, we really do need to yield to those numbers, right? Like, is it likely we're going to see a 25-point swing, max points to minimum points? No. But with the invert and the rain, maybe, right? Like, you can't rule it out because you've got the double dose of those variables. And on the team side as well, you're looking at a 50-point variable that you have to keep in mind in terms of, can this spot be gained or can this spot be lost? And again, on paper, the odds make it sound like, yeah, we can probably figure it out. A 10 to 20 point gap may be a bit more realistic, but this sets it up like Silverstone. And I'm curious to see, way back at Silverstone, when we had the first invert plus rain combo, it was absolute chaos. How much of that was the invert and the rain, or how much of that was just, it was our first time racing in the rain, right? Let's see if this one's any more calm than that, or if it's going to be just as wild.
Grand Pooh Bear said himself, who's helped put this format together, the rain has just been added into iRacing. And so, Tom, I mean, that's absolutely true. This isn't something we're making up here for those just checking in. This rain is a factor that we just don't know how it's going to play, and whether it's something that they're getting used to or whether they just don't have, this is something that now, as they've gone 6-7 races in and now are in the 8th race, won't be as much of an issue. We don't know yet. The rain just might be proving to be difficult across the board, across any match that it is raining for our players.
Well, I can tell you it is, because these guys now have, I mean, there's some veteran F1 or veteran iRacing streamers out here who are still struggling hard. We saw it in Belgium as well. Like, they will be struggling here too, depending on obviously how hard it is on this track. I don't know exactly, but I don't think it'll be easy.
Well, Evan, Tom, great calls there. We got one more to go, but let's set the stage as our standings are ready. Looking to head into our final race of the day. 7 gone so far. As we kick off into the rain, we get a chance to see where the captains are as well as their teammates. Looking at a win from Casey Kerwin. Off of that, it'll give him 25 points ahead of Pablo and Quirketize. Quirketize has made been somebody of note in our final 4 races, I'd say. Earlier on, couldn't quite find the gaps in the right way, but has definitely started to now with the podium here make a move. How much will that change? Pupo Lopez was in that position in 2nd and 3rd almost all of our first half of these races, but that's of course where the captains stand. On the other side of things, as we continue to move through our standings, overall you could see it, Evan, we talked about it. Is this a secured? It looks like with a 27-point gap, there's no way anyone can catch Casey for first.
Yeah, Casey could park it. He's not going to because he wants the team championship, but Casey Kerwin could pull up a lawn chair and watch the racing. He has gotten enough ahead, and it's really been that 50-point maxer at the 3rd track and 25 again. That's 3 straight race wins is enough for Casey Kerwin to claim the captain's championship.
However, though, if you take a look before we switch from 9th all the way to 5th, that's anybody's game. I mean, Daniel, we've seen him we've seen him get close to podiuming. We've had these opportunities where an 18-point switch, even a 15-point switch, clearly puts you in the 4th, 5th. That's a different set of prizing as well. As we switch over to the other side of teammates, Tom, HC Dizzy has been increasingly better and better as the day has gone on, and now takes the first win here with a 25-point.
100%. I think we've seen like HEDC, Borja, well as Sexo just kind of swap the positions every single time here. With then Grand Pooh Bear actually getting involved, and Storm Melina as well in a few of the races. It seems like Storm Melina was particularly good at the Daytona track. Still in a good position in P7 here though. But looking at the teammate standings, look at that. Like literally what I was saying. 114 for both P1 and P2, and then Sexo just about behind. They have been just a little bit in front of everybody else. But yeah, let's see whether, of course, Wacky Jackie can come up close as well, due to the fact that with Jarno, he is a very dangerous pairing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, taking a look at this, fellas, you see that 1-pointer right there. That is unheard of for Wacky Jackie. He's had at least 16 points, and that's what's kept Jarno and Wacky Jackie in the lead. And so now it's Tony and Borgia who retake it just by 4 points. Thanks to that, Daniel Gray right behind Strati Saxo Casey as well. I mean, guys, we've got 7 points between our top 5.
That's 1 or 2 positions for any single driver on those teams could differentiate winning the team championship and finishing into 5th. That is by far and large the closest that has been all night long.
Wow. Tom, it doesn't get closer than this when you consider what is.
It is very, very close. Only 7 points between P1 and the P5. Honestly, like you said, it's the closest it's ever been. I think this race is where it all comes down to. Like, even I'm nervous for the result right here. I can't wait. I honestly can't wait.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, now, as you can see, it's going to be absolutely epic going into the last race of the day, ladies and gents, because we have only one final race after 7 we have done so far. Now, we've done dry races, we've done wet races. There will only be 1 race to go, and that one will be wet to finish it off in style. And as you can see, 7 points in between of the top 5. Honestly, I think so far we've only really had 2 teams close between of the entirety of the shows today, and yeah, so that is going to be nuts. That's going to be nuts. But what do you reckon, Rain Day? Who's going to come out on top here?
Yeah, you know, to me, I thought it's been interesting to see HC Dizzy and Daniel Gray and their journey, because they have kind of been in the middle of the pack. We've seen HC Dizzy sit in 3rd most of the time. We've seen Daniel Gray in a lot of 4th and 5th battles, and some aggressive driving too, taking risks as well, talking about how his car is structured on basic and trying to essentially say, hey guys, I expect that we should be doing better. So that mentality to me is something I'm looking out for. Obviously, Casey's been driving great, but there's a little bit of a question mark on Agbinner. Has he had enough of experience over the 7th for the 8th one to be the big one? We don't know. I certainly think if Agbinner actually can get a great finish here in the top, I don't know, I would say 5, it would almost, in my opinion, secure Casey and him taking home the gold.
I think it's all a fair point. And again, it seems simple when it comes to either the captain's championship or the teammates championship, right? Including a tie when we're talking about the teammates for the top spot. It's pretty easy at that level because I need to beat this driver and I win the championship. It's so much more difficult for these drivers to be hyper aware of where they are in the team championship, right? We're talking championships. Most of the time that means these guys are racing for months long seasons and you can kind of figure out who your competitors are. There's so many moving variables. I don't think the drivers are really going to have a good inclination as this race goes on where things are. Because again, they could be first, but if your teammate's 10th in class, doesn't help a ton. So they might be listening to us on stream, trying to figure out who's where, what do they need to do. And it could come down to the very last turn. Again, the fact that it's a wet weather race, we've seen how chaotic those have been. This could be anybody's championship with 5 teams within 7 points.
One of the things, Tom, that we've seen, at least that I've noticed, it seems like whoever gets out in front pretty early, especially on the wet tracks when we have rain, tends to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, mistakes are made, and we've seen so many. Like, let's compare. Yeah, let's compare this to Daytona. Like, we've seen so many position changes with those out in front just being comfortable, just all of a sudden going wide, hitting the grass, and then being down 5 positions. Like, Jarno was leading, then all of a sudden he goes to P5, goes up to P3, goes again. You know, it's. I think this race is going to be more of that.
Yeah, and it's a little bit tighter too. Our first experience in the rain, when we were on that very first track, it is different than some of the tighter turns that you've seen with the S's.
Yeah.
What's going to be the difference, Evan, in terms of how they can take that and how they have to be driving? I mean, obviously more defensively, but is there anything else besides just slowing up?
Well, I made the point, some of the drivers who are driving defensively in prototypes don't have to deviate a ton from their line to be defensive just because the cars are so wide.
Right.
I think this is going to be the hardest place to overtake the GT3s that we've seen tonight if you're the prototypes, because the GT3s are going to be fighting for their life just to stay on the racetrack. If you catch them in the S's, you could be realistically looking at 2, 3, 4 corners where there just is not an opportunity to pass them. Daytona was very different in the flat because you could go wide or go shallow on the entry. You could kind of set it up. It's going to be so tough here. And we also saw in the dry, they caught those GT3s more than we had seen in any other race. So it's kind of the perfect recipe for chaos because it is not going to be fun.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear, and we have gone all the way to our very last race. 7 points separate first place to fifth place here in this championship, and there's one track remaining with some rain on top. It's going to be anybody's race. They'll have to take it because it will not be given. Let's head to the track, and Evan, Tom, take it away.
Well, no qualifying, Tom, so they already know we're all, though, going to be starting. They're going to enjoy the short benefits of a warm-up session, and then we are going to get into this one. And the invert for that man right there, Casey Kirwan, I think is going to be the story to watch. He is the team that is fifth in the overall championship, but he's also won the last 3 races in a row. Can he do it in the wet and on an invert? This rain had been his kryptonite up until Daytona.
He's got to win. That's what he's got to do. He knows it himself as well. He has to go and overtake 9 drivers who are very quick. Like, let's just say it, like, they are not slow whatsoever. Casey Kirwan had a little bit of extra pace over them last time out. But as you can see at the moment, as we're in practice session with Pulpo Lopez on board, it's just so tough to find any moments or any opportunities to go and get by, let alone of very quick drivers in front. Pulpo Lopez laughing as well, seeing how crazy the conditions are right here. And that's the practice they are going to get. And he's probably thinking to himself, oh my goodness, that's it? Now we have to race?
That's all you get. Small sample size for the wet weather. And here we go.
Yes, indeed. Now, Wacky Jackie, most importantly, starting P1 right here. He got P10 last time out. So that's going to be very, very important in this race for him and Jarno Opmeer. Of course, in being in that team, in that pack, in the top 5, knowing that they can win if they both get good results. Jarno Opmeer starting P5, so if he stays there, maybe gets a few more points there. And Wacky Jackie stays P1, then they are probably the favorite right now. But don't forget, Tony Kanaan at the moment in P2. So he's also in a good spot. Everybody's in a good spot almost. It is just in reverse.
Yeah, the takeaway there is a path to victory in terms of this championship for everybody. They all can see it's tantalizingly close. For some, maybe closer than others, but even Casey Kirwan, it feels like, P10, I can still win this thing. And to your point, it's probably what he's going to need. And in these GT3s, I mean, Borja has been one of the best all night long. I think he's feeling good about the fact that his teammate, Tony Kanaan, has the benefit of the invert for P2. They could be in one of the better positions, but then you got Wacky Jackie, P1 on the invert for the GT3s again. I think I could come up with an argument for any of those 5 team combinations to be the victors.
Oh, 100%. I think in general, the prototype cars will be a little bit tougher to overtake in. And then the GT cars will be a bit more opportunities because we've seen a couple more mistakes happening there in that side of the race. We're basically going to see 2 races here with GT3 and then, of course, the GTP that we're on board with right now with Tony Kanaan. He knows what it's like to perform in high-pressure situations, and this is probably a very high pressure situation for him as well, because this is the finale, the final race and the decider for who is going to become the champion of the iRacing Duos Derby featuring Grand Pooh Bear.
And I think guys like Tony Kanaan, some of these other names as well, look at Samsoy just staying loose, having fun, right? I mean, kind of keep things lighthearted with everything on the line. I think there are drivers who love to be in pressure-packed situations. Some, well, maybe that's not their forte. Maybe they struggle when the spotlight is the brightest, but other drivers just seem to kind of find a hypothetical next gear when it comes to big pressure races like this. And the one thing you want as a driver is to be able to make a difference, right? We've talked about in the first race on the dry here, the challenges with overtaking opportunities and how hard it's been to get the draft down this very straightaway. Well, the very clear advantage in this race goes to the driver who can manage the wet weather the best. And as a racing driver, Tom, I don't think there's anything you could ask for more than you being able to be the difference maker.
Yeah, and as you see on the webcam as well, or on the camera of Samsoid, he is lighthearted, but you saw him just breathing in and breathing out very heavily, knowing that, you know, it is a high pressure situation. So it's nice to see that he, you know, like you said, you want to be in that kind of moods where nothing can really stop you, you know. You gotta go with the flow. And I think at the moment he is in there, but as the safety car will come in after this turn, he does feel it, as they need to get ready to go green, 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 green. Once the safety car goes into the pits, then everyone is going, especially in this pack right here. And here we go then, as they will get going right here, right now.
Downhill they go, green flag in the air, final race of the afternoon. Good jump for Samsoid. Early advantage to turn one. Big mistake for Tony Kanani's wide. Where'd Tony go? He's off it in the grass. And is Tony all the way into the tires? He is. Huge mistake from P2.
That is a big, big moment. And of course, also in the championship, Tony is going to go all the way to the back now. He has to come back. And as you can see, it is absolutely huge, huge in terms of the rain at the moment. They can barely see anything at this point in time. Now, there's a big moment here as Pablo tries to go for the move on the car of Quirketize. But honestly, where's the track and where's the car in front? It's crazy at the moment.
It is so hard to see around these sweeping turns in Road Atlanta. Look at the challenge to the back of Pablo GZ, and now on board with Strati further up the racetrack as well. He was third at the start of this race, but with TK gone, he's the third. Oh, and now Yaro into the outside wall, a huge off.
Big moment there as well. These conditions are catching out everybody at the moment. And those who will stay on track will be the ones who are going to profit. Casey still out on track. Wait, is he? I think he has dropped down a little bit as well. No, he has had a little bit of an issue himself as well, because he is nowhere close to the front of the field at this time. Yarno out, or at least not out, but no,
Yarno
he is,
just took a tow to pit road. Yeah, Yarno towing to pit road. That is huge, because he'll have to serve a time penalty before that car can leave pit road. That may be the nail in the coffin for Yarno in the team championship.
100%, 100%. And now, as Pablo goes wide as well, nobody, absolutely nobody's keeping it out on track. And obviously, you want to be quick right now, but you have to choose whether you want to be quick or you want to be consistent. There you go, Pablo once again with his tires not working to his extent that he wants to. Molina now goes for a little bit of a spin as well. Still in the fight though, and still with a love. I love it.
Pablo just took a tow as well. That is two of your top prototype cars towing to pit road after being involved in accidents. And look at Saxo Gaming there, and now Pablo stationary on pit road, head in his hands. That is how quickly it can all fall apart. Quirketize had a poor start in his own right, but seemingly trying to bounce back after a lot of the cars in front of him have wrecked off of the racetrack.
It's insane how Casey Kerwin went from last on the grid to P2 here. He stayed out of trouble, and I think that's going to be the key. That's going to be the key. Will he make a mistake later on still as well? Obviously, a 15-minute race. In 15 minutes, you can do a lot of mistakes. And so far, Stradi and Samsoid, who didn't really show themselves so far as the quickest drivers necessarily over a single lap, but they, oh, big moment here as he goes into the wall as well, and he was in a good position too, but he loses out now on a lot of time, and he has to tow and get back into the pits too, unless he wants to continue with a half broken car.
I think he'll finally bow out, take the tow to pit road. That's at least the third car to do so, but I'm sure the number is much higher than that. We've got 4 drivers who are off of the racetrack due to tows already, and we have got a long way to go still with more than 10 minutes left. So through all of that chaos, well, where do we sit? Well, Wacky Jackie, P6, midfield for the GT3s, taking his time. Look at all those puddles. downhill into the heavy braking zone. Turn number 10 for Samsoid up front, still in front, but no more. There goes Casey Kerwin, P10 to P1, and they've only done 2.5 laps.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, look at this then. It seems like Jarno Opmeer has now been retired. He's 2 laps down. I don't think he'll have another opportunity to go and get back into it. It seems like he's done with the race at this point in time. But Casey Kerwin looks to be winning. But hey, it's not over yet.
Long way to go. Just like we said, after what, 2, 3, 4 races in, that a lot had happened in the championship, but just as much can happen still. Well, we're only 5 minutes into this race, so a lot can happen in the 10 minutes or so that are still left to go on the clock as we continue to race down to the end of this iRacing Twitch Duos Derby. Kerwin leading. He's going to try to pull away. There's his teammate who he needs a good performance out of. But Agmaner right now, third to the bottom in class, could be worse because, well, he's had a clean race for the most part. Trying to get that car around in one piece. That's the key. Allow other drivers to make mistakes for you.
I think we have to make sure to look at Sexo as well as Borja, who are in a good position right now as well. So, yeah, we'll need to see where Tony Kanaan is at this point in time too, because they could still be a very, very, dangerous team here to battle with the cars of Casey Kerwin and Agmaner. So Tony Kanaan at the moment in P9. If he wants to have an opportunity of getting more points compared to Casey Kerwin, then if Tony Kanaan can just get a few more positions, they're going to be super close. At this point in time, I think it's going to be Tony Kanaan winning, actually, because they're both in P1 and P9 in the team standings.
Yeah, looking through the combinations, there is good and bad for almost every team. There is no single team that has jumped out to a clear benefit, but to your point, Kanaan is trying to bounce back in class, still with some work to do, about 7th or so. But Borja, 3rd in class is big. They may end up being the most consistent team, which is what they would need. And Borja's got an opportunity for more. Those cars up the road are possible positions gained. But if you're Borja, you got to do a bit of a risk analysis right here. Is it worth pushing my race car to try to go and make those moves and possibly wrecking myself out of this race? Or do I stay here and take control of my equipment? You'd certainly feel bad if you decided to sit still and those were the points you needed, but I think you'd feel even worse if you put the car in jeopardy unnecessarily.
And for those of you who are joining in at the moment, a warm welcome into the last 9 minutes of this race. As Agmaner goes for a little bit of a spin, he might have to tow the car back into the pits, and that could be crucial in the championship fight. It doesn't look like he has any plans here to get back out on track, or he's waiting for cars to get by. But this could put it back into the hands of Tony Kanaan and his teammate. Tony Kanaan does not look phased though. He is focused on the job, slipping and sliding through the corners, and hoping for himself that he keeps it out on track, because if he doesn't make any more mistakes, he's in a prime spot together with his teammate to get a really good result.
And Tony Kanaan back up to the number 8 spot in class. Don't know if he'll be able to make up any more spots. Quirkatized is some 20 seconds up the road on track, so Tony's hopes for some more positions gained may have to come from some self-inflicted errors. I know we just saw Agmaner have a mistake, but it does feel like less of those single car accidents in this part of the race than what we saw in those first few trips around. So maybe for a moment, some calm amidst the chaos as we watch the lap counter tick down towards the end. We are halfway home in this final 15-minute sprint. And Agmaner, I'm just looking at the leaderboard there on the screen for Samsoid. Red letters, looks like he is taking a tow. Major issues for Casey Kerwin's GT3 teammate.
100%, and we've just had an overtake as well from Pulpo Lopez on Stradi. So that's going to be promoting Pulpo Lopez into the podium as well. And then a little bit further behind, Borja, of course, crucial here in the championship, has overtaken Grand Poubert, who is currently in a podium position as well. Positions a little different than what we saw in the dry race at the moment, as we're on board with the car of Grand Poubert, who is holding that podium position. He doesn't really have a lot of contention from the car behind, but he does have contention from the car in front, with both Sexo as well as Borja within grasping distance. You can see them right there in front. So if any mistakes are made here, he will be there no matter what.
And there's your look on board with Strati back up 4th overall, 4th in class for the prototypes. 4 seconds behind Pulpo Lopez, so not much to gain. 7 seconds ahead of Daniel Gray. Not much of a challenge out the back. It's almost a good and a bad thing for Strati. There's no pressure. No one's forcing you to do something you don't want, but there's also no opportunity to gain anything as well. As looks like Pulpo Lopez gets around Samsoid at a battle for 2nd and 3rd. There's Daniel Gray, 5th on track. Also, bit of a mistake there. Self-inflicted. I've seen worse, though. He is going to have to yield that time gained. That's going to hurt him on the stopwatch more than it will in the rankings.
And of course, luckily for him, Corkatize, who's the next car behind of him, is a little bit further. You can see him come through the same turn where he got that yield, but he's long gone at this point in time. As Corkatize is sliding through the corners, he'll want to hope that the car in front, Samsoid, is going to get a couple more yields, and then he'll be able to close in. But at this time, it doesn't seem like it will be possible anytime soon. Now, in the meantime, we have a big battle going on in the GT3 section, because we got Borja as well as Sexo, only 1 second away from each other. So Borja at the moment trying to go for a move on Sexo, or at least anytime soon. He's got the pace because he was about 2 whole seconds quicker. Well, let's not exaggerate. 1.5 seconds quicker, which is still a lot. And he'll be able to perhaps go for an overtake here on the car of Sexo Gaming if he finds an opportunity, or if Sexo Gaming makes a mistake.
And let's see how they clock in this time as they come to the end of their 6th completed lap at Road Atlanta. Lap time for Saxo, super consistent, a 1 minute 41, 195. The challenger in line is going to be able to clock in a similar time to close the gap in. That one clocks in at a 141.0. So Borja still faster as Casey Kerwin is in the middle of these two. Again, S is not a place you want to catch them. A little bit of patience. He's got the gap to do so. Gets on by and does not play a factor in that battle for the GT3 lead as you go back on board with Strati here. A battle for position. That's Pulpo Lopez in the rear view mirror, and he's going to pass him like he's standing still. Huge move that time, and you can put Pulpo Lopez back up a spot into the podium.
I wonder if he just got a little bit of a worse exit or thought of the better and was like, you know what, I'll let him by. He's been pushing me too much here. I might make a mistake if I keep pushing. It looked a little bit, like he was slowing down, or he got a really bad exit earlier, letting Pulpo Lopez by because of that. But yeah, it looked like he was going a bit slow on that straight there.
There's the on-board look with Saxo. He's the leader. He's the one with the target on his bumper. But will Borja be able to do anything about it? This racetrack has proven to be tricky to pass at, I'd say, in the dry and even right now here in the wet. These two are pushing it. There is no conserving. There is no taking it easy amongst these two. It is a GT3 class win. Critical championship points on the line for both of them. And Saxo just has not put a foot wrong.
Not yet, not yet, as Quirketize overtakes one of the GT3 cars at the moment. He is trying to maintain the pace. It feels like now, after we've had a few laps and all the cars went around, it feels like they're trying to keep it slower and slower just to make sure they get to the end without any major issues, because one tiny spin could cost you about 10 seconds easily. And that's what we saw earlier as well with Marina, who's currently doing a pretty decent race in P3. On the podium at this point in time, and battling as well with the car behind, which I believe is Grand Poubert right here. No, it is, I think it might be Grand Poubert who went out of the pits 1 lap down and getting some blue flags at the moment for those prototype cars as well, which is going to be a task and a half, trying to manage your own race and then, of course, managing the prototype cars, which are a lot quicker than those GT3s.
Yeah, and there's Samsoid going on by. Oh, be careful. Look at that face reaction. You just can't kind of jerk that car to the left like you can in the dry in a straight line. Almost wrecked himself. Good that you could chuckle about it once it's done, but man, that was a scary moment, not only for them, but for Melina as well, because she just about saw a car wreck right in front of her. That would have put her podium at risk as well. Back with Borja, still the challenger. Saxo somewhere up there in the spray. There he is as the GTE class leader coming down to the end of this 8th and final sprint race.
I believe if it stays like this, Borja as well as Tony Kanaan can have a really good opportunity here to win the team championship. As you can see at the bottom at the moment of the screen, they're currently placed first with 169 points. Driver placement second as well. So perhaps Borja will be able to still improve here on his driver placement. He'll have to fight with Sexo because I believe Sexo right now is in P1 in the driver placement. But let's see what he'll be able to do. I think this is both going to be very important for the team placement and for the driver placement. So it must be that Borja is very, very, very nervous right now. Ooh, and there we go. We got the GTP cars getting through. So he might be able to go and profit right now from the GTP car getting through on Sexo as well later on.
Trying to see if he could gain. There's another prototype coming up the rear as well. I don't think it's going to be a factor, though, in the line of Borja or in that of Saxo. We'll see. Maybe in the inside for turn 6. Yeah, that closes the gap a little bit. It's the closest that Borja has been all race long. Looks to the inside. There's car contact there, but it can't get the inside positioning. And again, Saxo gets the run necessary off of the corner.
Yep, and I believe once they go and cross the finish line, they will commence the last lap, because as you can see on the top left, 15 minutes have now passed in this race, and this race is 15 minutes. As we go on board with Casey Kerwin, who is going to be commencing his last lap. Indeed, it is white flag, which means last lap for him, and that means that we have one last lap in that battle for P1 in the GT3 class, which is crucial for the championship. So I cannot wait to see who will come out on top there in that GT3 class, because that is going to be for the team championship all the way down to the last lap in the final race, which is insane.
There is no spot on track besides first and second that means more, because it is a 7-point swing between a win or a runner-up, and that championship for the teams could come down to the top spot in the GT3 class. But up front, Casey Kerwin has turned up the wick as he looks to get his 4th straight win, sweeping the North American racetracks en route to a Captain's Points Championship. Problem in front, GT3 off the track. Casey Kerwin clear of that one. Kerwin is going to end in dominating fashion, winning at Road Atlanta and winning the Prototype Class Championship.
And now I wonder what that battle is like in the GT3 section. We got Borja right here, behind of Sexo Gaming, who's right in front of him, but there's a GTP class in behind, or in front of him, and he wants him to get out of the way, but he doesn't. And now, ooh la la, I think it's going to be tough, because this is the last and final straight, and he didn't really get the exit he needed. More GTPs coming through, and that could hinder the Ferrari in front of Sexo Gaming. So perhaps on the exit of the next turn, we'll be able to see a surprise move from Borja on Sexo Gaming. Crucial for the championship. Crucial to make this move now in the last couple of turns here, in the last lap of this race. But it seems like the Ferrari in front is going to be able to do a good job and keep it hanging, and that means Borja should be able to get P2 here, and Sexo Gaming manages to hold off Borja for the win. An epic fight in the last and final lap. The last and final laps as Borja almost loses the car, drift into the last corner. He's happy with that one though, as he points to the camera with his finger up, and he thinks he has it. He thinks he has it, I think.
He thinks P2 is enough. How about Storm Molina, 3rd in class as well? She has had a killer second half as well. Bouncy to back, smiling throughout it all. She did a great job in the rain. Another podium for her in the GT3 class as well. There are so many spots up for grabs. Brandon Pooh Bear off of the lead lap, so not on track at the end of this one. Well, we think we know where the numbers may fall, but we'll have to find out.
You know, this is so exciting. We've been crunching numbers behind the scenes. We are going to save it for behind the scenes and tally up the standings. When we come back, we will have our winners in the championships, in our teammates championships, and in the overall championships here on the iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear. Stay tuned. congrats to our Maze connoisseur, by the way, Mitch Devious. Great use of some smart spelling there. I appreciate you guys hanging in and waiting, because we were also waiting with bated breath here. Rain Day, Evan Pasoko, and of course Tom, who have been watching these racers continue to compete. And now we finally are getting close to the results. Evan, before we show them, because we're going to announce our champions, then we're going to announce our teammate champion, then we're going to announce the overall winners. I mean, any conspiracy theories here? Maybe not a conspiracy theory, but maybe just a theory. How do you think it panned out? Do you think Borja did enough?
He seems to think so. I'm not inclined to disagree. We were kind of watching as well, where TK could get up through and kind of how that would play into it. It's just so tight. Like I said, when it comes to the drivers' championships and it's me versus him or me versus her, I think that we can calculate that. But with that team championship, Borja seemed real confident for a lot of math going on. So I will defer to that. We'll see if it's true or not.
Yeah, and you could have just been, too, Tom, just the fact that Borja, I think at that point, was probably putting himself in contention for at least the teammates championship as well as the teammate winner. So driving like that, he's got to be happy, maybe earning that $1,000 himself.
Oh, 100%. I mean, being in that position, he already was going to come home with a really good result, right? The question is whether that's going to be the big one on the drivers and team sides, or maybe even neither of them. We'll have to wait and see. I honestly have no clue. I don't know for you guys at home, but it was so close. 5 teams could win it. Like, nuts.
That's how you know you got a good format. Grand Pooh Bear put this together, and I would have thought, maybe he was being a little harsh on Casey, making sure he did everything to stop Casey from winning. But when you look at it, I mean, they were still within 7 points, and Agbener had a couple of rounds he probably would want to take back. And if he had, it would have been a big difference. But you look at the different styles of this top-heavy performance from Casey, and then also you look at teams that were also in the mix like Saxo and Stratty, who Stratty, I think, Evan, was a clear 4th almost the entire day and didn't really care to get in that first place, but definitely didn't drop either. It was just consistency. And then Saxo, 71 points, I know, from the teammate championship, about 30 points away from second place behind Borja, and somehow comes out with a win for the first win, I think, overall. So for him, so that was a huge performance by them, who have just put themselves in a position to say, we may not have been the outliers all day long, but in race 8, we were able to make some big moves.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think even with, we talked about the 7-point gap between a class win and a class second, so 25 points or 18, no matter how much that is weighted to the top of the mountain, 2 third-place finishes is still better than a win in a 10. So at the end of the day, consistency is the name of the game. You can have those big time moment performances from Casey Kerwin, the 4 wins in a row to the end, but it does take both. And I think that is the great equalizer. I think the combination of the tracks, the weather, the point structure was a perfect concoction on Grand Pooh Bear's part to give us this thrilling end.
Well, we're still waiting for those final standings. Trust me, we will get them to you as soon as they are ready, but we want to make sure they're nice and accurate for all of our competitors so they don't get too excited one way or the other, and we actually congratulate our winners. Tom, I asked Evan, any ideas, any speculation here in terms of who you think came out on top?
I don't know. I mean, looking at how happy he was, right?
Yeah,
Borja.
Borja,
I think he must have known a little bit the championship. But I'm very interested in terms of we've had 4 races now, right? 4 races, 2 times or 1 times wets, 1 times dry.
Right.
What was your guys' favorite race of all the 4 of them? I haven't actually thought about that yet, so I'll let you guys think right now. What was your favorite race? Also, I want to know.
That's not a softball at all. I mean, Tom, well, what's your favorite meme then, Tom? And tell me right now and make everybody laugh. My
favorite
goodness.
car. Come on, it's hard.
I would love to know as well in the chat, for those of you who have been here perhaps for the entirety of the show today. It's been a long one, I know, but we've had, obviously, at the start, Belgium. We've had Silverstone, Daytona. I would probably say Daytona was one of my favorite ones because we've had so many, especially in the wet, so many unpredictability. And even in the dry, we had really great racing. And then obviously at Belgium as well. I mean, I probably can't even choose, but I would probably choose Daytona on my end. I don't know about you guys, but
Evan?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's biased because it's my hometown track or my closest track to me. I think when it looks at, there's the chaos factor, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But I think both races at Daytona, both in the dry with the super tight margins, the side-by-side finishes, and then the chaos that flat infield road course produced on the wet side of things, I think when we look at both, I think Daytona stole the show for me.
To me, I got to say, maybe it's because I lived in Atlanta for a few years, but Road Atlanta was great. I love the chaos of when we went from dry, seemingly going, this should be pretty similar, maybe a couple slowdowns, to the wet, and everyone's crashing and slipping everywhere. I thought that was actually quite fun, but also it showed a different part of racing, which it can be very distant to someone who's not every day inside of racing. The level of focus that you need to maintain for what look like, as you're watching, pretty, similar results. He takes a corner. It looks like sometimes the same corner somebody else does from an untrained eye. But you could see, whoa, wait a second. Add a little bit of rain, add some predictability, crash. And so to me, that shot up my understanding and my awareness of some of those little things. And I think for people watching, it was definitely entertaining and a great race between the teammates at the very end. Oh, yeah. However, to finish that off, I've got some information, ladies and gentlemen. You've been waiting patiently, so have we. We've got the announcement. Our winner of our captains, the captain champion. This one shouldn't be too surprising because he was driving phenomenally all day. It is the one and only. He's already got his photo ready. It's Casey Kirwan, the winner of our champions bracket in the iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear. Congratulations to Casey Kirwan. And Evan, it was really not close at all.
I mean, 50 and 50. I mean, that's a perfect game, a walk-off, come up with whatever sports analogy you want. Casey Kirwan looked strong. When we started the day at Silverstone, thought maybe a rough go at Spa was going to make things closer, but he was lights out on those North American circuits that he's most familiar with.
Tom, it doesn't get much better than that. But when you look at it, we got a actually showcase of our teammates' winners. Borja
A tie?
And Saxo tied. My goodness. So it must have been 76 points to 101 because that would have, well, no, it couldn't have been that. My goodness, I guess they were much closer than I thought. Look at this. Saxo and Borja with the tie. And I don't know if Saxo gets the tiebreaker, and that's why they have him up front or if they have to do it. But Tom, I mean, I think the neck and neck teammate race was a little bit more of a representation of where they actually were than we thought.
That's incredible. I mean, Borja was super happy there at the end. I think he should have gone for the move, because if he went for the move, that was going to be the win for sure. I mean, it is the win still, but that was going to be, a win on his own. Now they have to share the trophy. I don't know how are they going to do that? Are they going to cut it in half? Like,
yeah, need a good.
That is the question.
Can you cut those big checks in half?
And look at it. True. There's no cutting here for our winning team because of that move. It was a 6-point lead that Borja and Tony had heading into it. The 7-point change that resulted in Saxo winning 25 points in that last race, and Strati coming in ahead of Tony put them in the lead. And there is the difference. Strati, Saxo Gaming TV are winners in the team portion of the iRacing Showdown featuring Grand Pooh Bear.
I mean, that's it, right? We mentioned 7-point swing for a class win. If Borja had made the pass on Saxo Gaming, if he was able to get it, we would have been talking about a 7-point swing. It would have been a championship for Tony Cadana and Borja. Saxo holds off that GT3 win, propelling him and Strati to the team championship.
It's a big day for Saxo, who wins and ties for first, not only in his teammates category, but now, Tom, in the overall winners category. I mean, that's some racing for you.
I mean, he must be ecstatic. I mean, he held off the win, obviously, in that last and final race, and then to obviously win the team championship as well with that one. I was saying Tony Kanaan as well as his teammate Borja was super, super consistent all the way throughout. But just that last race where, they just about couldn't get that win, just about cost it in the end for the team championship.
Well, there's two people we couldn't do this one without. Well, let's say four, because you two, for sure, have been phenomenal all day. But we couldn't do a tournament like this without the person who helped set it up. That's Grand Pooh Bear. And, of course, the person who won, because you got to have a winner, and that's Saxo Gaming. And right now, we have them for an interview together, Grand Pooh Bear and Saxo Gaming. congratulations, Saxo, for the win. We have to give you that outset. And Grand Pooh Bear smiling as always, man. How's it feel?
Oh, man, I had such a blast. Like, I had an absolute amazing time. It was a blast to be on the track with all these great drivers and crazy creators. There were crashes. There were amazing passes. There were recoveries. And that's just what I saw from my POV. You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine what you guys got to see the whole time. I thought it was just like an amazing exhibition of iRacing. And then you also get to see, Casey Kirwan dominate out there. Jeez Louise. Holy God, to come back starting 10th in those last two races, 10th in the rain in Atlanta, and then to that's just wild. You know what I mean?
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to just before I let really Evan and Tom get into these questions that are much more racing focused, I want to let you have a chance to talk about it after this tournament's going. But I also need to hear from Saxo, who made a huge move in that final race, not just to take first place in the teammate category, but also overall with your squad member on the captain's side. Saxo, how are you feeling after that win? And talk to us.
I'm good, thank you very much. First of all, my English level is very low, and sorry, but this last race is amazing. It's very crazy and amazing. I'm very happy.
We got to ask both of you guys. I mean, we competed at so many different racetracks, in the wet, in the dry. Well, Hubert, we'll go to you first, and then Saxo as well. I'm curious, what combination did you enjoy the most? What track and what condition?
Me personally, I had a really good time in Atlanta. Atlanta's fun. I think it's just a really fun track for multi-class racing in general because, cars are lapping you often, you know what I mean? We got the whole field through there, and I always have such a good time in Atlanta. It's a narrow track. It's kind of got that, the S turns there downhill. It's so much fun. The elevation change. I just love that track so much. So I think that probably took my cake. Plus, I did really great on the dry there, so I'm biased,
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Saxo, which one did you like the most? Obviously, you had success all night.
For me, the last race, the last combo is the best because the result and the global event is very good. I enjoy that. But the last race is amazing. Very, very wet, the asphalt. Sorry, my English. Sorry, my English is very low.
Hey, no worries, man.
And the last race is amazing, and with this result, more amazing.
I gotta say, it was a little crazy. It was a little crazy going from bone dry to monsoon, and that was our options, Every race.
Well, you guys are amazing. We're going to get Tom's reflections after this, but we talked to you in front. I'm glad we were able to do that. And thank you so much for spending the time to talk to us here. Great job, Grand Pooh Bear, for hosting this. And congratulations, Saxo, for winning not one, but two of our categories today.
Congrats.
One more thing.
Awesome
Thanks
stuff,
everyone
guys.
who watched. Thanks everyone who watched. Thanks again, Twitch. Thanks again to everybody at iRacing. Thanks to all these amazing racers. It truly was like an international event. It was super amazing. Thank you, our amazing commentators too. You guys crushed it. Everyone had so much fun. This is like I've been in a lot of Twitch rivals, and this was, maybe it's because it's my community gassing me up, but a lot of good feedback on this. So thank you guys.
We love it.
And
Thank
can
you,
I
Grand Pooh Bear.
say
Thanks, guys.
something?
Yeah.
Can I say
Sure.
something? A
Of
little
course.
something?
Yeah.
This victory is for my wife. I love you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shout out all the wives out there. All right. Thanks,
Buy her
guys.
something nice with that money,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Great talking to Grand Pooh Bear.
Holidays with the
and
wife.
Saxo Gaming here. And, as we kind of come back out of this one, and I kind of, Tom, obviously having a chance to chat with them, I wanted to just get your thoughts on that interview. We had to close it, but what a day this has been, and what a great time to kind of have a moment to spend with them and our winners and the reflection on the day.
I mean, honestly, just finishing it off with, paying off the win to the wife is awesome, and maybe that's exactly why he kept his rival behind of him in that last and final lap. I think if it wasn't for his wife, maybe he would have let it go. Honestly, amazing, and I agree completely with Grant. I think
on the day.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of this one. I've been doing sim racing and kind of iRacing broadcasting more specifically for kind of the better part of a decade, which is scary to see. And I've seen this community, which when we stack, not even just iRacing, right, but sim racing up against some of the other esports out there, it's a relatively tight community. And I kind of echo what Grand Pooh Bear said. This is his passion. Racing is such an incredible thing. And again, I'll harp back to what we touched on earlier, right? There's nothing in the esports world like sim racing that can directly tie you to our real life counterpart. You see it with guys like Tony Kanaan. I mean, we just casually had an Indy 500 champion racing with us for the last 4 hours, and that's a routine thing on sim racing. Some of the top talents all across the world, from Formula One to local racing in whatever country you're in, are on iRacing every day. Happy to have been a part of this and excited to see what's next for sim racing.
Fantastic, Evan. Great job as well. Even Tom sounded amazing today. It was great to do the broadcast with you both. And I look forward to hopefully more in the future and hearing you guys continue to showcase iRacing and all of the endeavors that you partake in this esports community. Of course, you know what that means? It means we've got our winners. It means we've had a great show. And it means now it's time to close. But we do have something else. As we wrap up the show, it's time for a new version of our Twitch Rivals Raid. We're raising the stakes and unveiling the Raid Launcher. The Raid Launcher will randomly select one channel from all of today's participants who are still live, and once we have a winner, we'll launch all of you along with 25 gifted subs to the Lucky Streamers channel. Let's see who it's going to be today. Okay.
Away we go then.
This feels like it was us trying to guess the team winner.
Yeah. I'm going Melina. I don't know why. Melina?
No.
We might get close.
So he's a double winner. Strati wins the teammate championship.
Winners win.
And the gifted sub. Well, you know what that means if you're on Twitch and part of this community. We appreciate you. We love you. Go ahead and join that Raid Launcher and say what's up to Strati and congratulate him on his win. To everyone behind the scenes at Twitch Rivals, Geek Lounge, and everyone involved, especially our participants, our casters, and you, the fans, we love you. We appreciate you. We remind you, never give up, never stop gaming, and we will see you all next time.
Bye-bye.